Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck, we are unsurprisingly playing some Blue-Black Reanimator. I'm trying not to put too much Blue-Black Reanimator on the channel because the format is kind of saturated with it, but we just had a Legacy Showcase Challenge, which is obviously like a bigger, higher stakes event, so I thought we should probably play the deck that won that. And this is Skpchino's Blue-Black Reanimator that won the Legacy Showcase Challenge. Just for a quick snapshot of where the meta is. We've had 5 events since the BNR, which obviously didn't ban anything, and this is what we're looking at. So Blue-Black Reanimator, in general, is 21.7% of the meta, and in terms of top 8s, it's had 17 top 8s over 5 events. So that is 42% of the top 8 placings. That's quite a lot, and we drop down to the second deck, it's only 3. So we're going to be playing Blue-Black Reanimator today. So this list, we know it, we love it, I guess. So we're playing Entomb for our 2 big monsters of Atraxa and Archon of Cruelty. We've got 4 Reanimates and 1 Animate Dead. Just a really neat 11-card package. And the rest of the deck is just a really smooth tempo deck. So we've got our cantrips. We've got our counter magic in Force of Negation and Dazes. We've got hand disruption in Thoughtseize. This particular list has cut 1 Thoughtseize for Nihil Spellbomb, just so you can try and help out in the mirror. And then we've got our fair plan of our Tamiyos, which are just great card advantage. You can completely change the way a game plays. Murktide Regent is a nice big haymaker. This is my personal favourite haymaker for the Reanimator decks. Even though it does kind of need the graveyard, it puts your opponent in an awkward position of, do I sweep the graveyard to stop the Murktide, or do I hold it to stop the Reanimator creature? And obviously being a big flyer is quite helpful too. And a couple of Borrowers just to bounce out problem permanents and just be an annoying threat too. This list has 20 lands with the 4 Wastelands. Sometimes you see 19 with 3. 1 of each basic, a bunch of fetches, a couple of Undercity Sewers, just the usual really. Sideboard-wise, we've got a few interesting little bits and pieces here. Notably Energy Flux. This is for like the Mystic Forge decks that need to spam out a bunch of artifacts. Just making them have pay 2 every upkeep or sack them is pretty darn good. Consigned to Memory for the same matchup. Also, Eldrazi managed to win a Legacy Challenge the other day. It was actually the same list that I played on the channel last week, so go check that out. So, a bit more use for Consigned to Memory than the last few weeks. We've got Force of Negation, a bit more counter magic. Then we got some fair creatures. We've got Barrowgoyf and Dauthi Voidwalker and Orcish Bowmasters, so we can pivot quite heavily into the fair plan. We've got engine explosives to blow up things like cages if we need them. And then Bits of Triumph. This is a removal spell that hits creatures, but also hits Kaito. And then a couple of fatal pushes if we need more removal. So that's the list. Well done to Skpchino for winning the Legacy Showcase Challenge. Obviously a very big and competitive event. I think it ends up being like 13 rounds or something like that once you've done on the top 8 as well. So big achievement. Deck's very good. Let's see quite how good it is. I may not like the fact that this deck is still around in Legacy, but to be honest, playing it is quite fun because you have a lot of interesting choices. It's just a bit too good. Alright, like, subscribe, let's jam. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. Okay, our opener is fine. We can put this into the graveyard if we want to. I'll keep it. Brainstorm's going to be doing some of the heavy lifting here. Leyline in the Void. Alright. So they didn't have any lands, they just had 2 Leyline in the Voids. This is kind of what the format looks a bit like at the moment, which is not ideal, to be fair. Let's go and find... I think we can find an Underground Sea. Do we need to find an Underground Sea here, is the question. Or can we just find... If we want to find... No, we couldn't find an item because it was the wrong fetch, right? So we do have to get an Underground Sea here. Let's ponder. We have an Entomb, which we don't want. We have double Borrower, so we could just Borrower, and then we're away. That's not the worst in the world, is it? Our opponent said they just skipped through their turn by accident. We've all done it. Urza's Workshop. Okay, I think we can just take out the land. Just keep our opponent's resources crimp back, and then at some point we'll just bounce both of these, put an Atraxa in and win the game. Urza's mine. So we're on like a full-on Tron style stuff over here. I'll continue to hit my opponent's mana. Next turn we can Brainstorm. Alternatively, we can Brainstorm on our opponent's end step here. And then that sets us up for an earlier Reanimator, so we can dig for some kind of... so we dig for some counter magic so we can stop the scary stuff our opponent's doing whilst also getting towards our combo quicker. Let's Brainstorm here. Obviously, we're going to put back this Archon of Cruelty, and it doesn't matter what the other card is because we're going to draw it anyway. We're obviously not entombing when all these annoying permanents are still in play. I'll play this Bloodstained Mire out. I'll pass. This also plays around Karn's Silex by playing this land out, although we already have the 3 lands, but we want to be able to get the shuffle going. Okay, that's an Urza's Saga. There's a Grim Monolith. Okay, let's go and Undercity Sewers here. I'm going to pay Theft one of these now. So we have Entomb Reanimate, which is what we've been working towards. Do we ponder right now? We are probably pondering, looking for some interaction. Force of Will, that is interaction. I'm going to shuffle these away anyway. Daze can sometimes be useful. So we'll play out this Underground Sea. We can bounce this in our opponent's end step, and then we can untap, Entomb Reanimate, get Atraxa, have shields up for whatever our opponent's doing before this as a Saga pops. Maybe even find a Wasteland to take it out. Our opponent's got some interesting stuff going on here. I have to imagine there's a Helm of Obedience kill in their deck. Karn the Great Creator. This is the sort of thing that we want to say no to, isn't it? Goodbye, Murktide Regent. This also means they're not making a construct this turn, which is pretty big news for us. Goodbye, Leyline. This does telegraph exactly what our plan is here, but I don't think our opponent can do much about it. We're not going to play our land because we want to find a Wasteland here. So we go Entomb, put in Atraxa, Reanimate, Reanimate Atraxa. Let's have a look. Okay, Wasteland is one of the cards I wanted here. Murktide Regent is probably the creature of choice. I'll take this instant. Done. Let's get the Wasteland going. Take out the Saga. We don't want them tutoring for anything. And now we're just firing on all cylinders here. Double A-line start was not good enough, apparently. Now, our opponent can still win this, but it's going to be difficult. We've got Brazen Borrowers coming out of our ears as well. Ooh, I don't mind a little Brainstorm here. Actually, do I need to Brainstorm here? Thinking about it. Maybe I'll play this land for an emergency Brainstorm. Attack for 7 here. If we Brainstorm, actually, we can get this Murktide Regent out, can't we? So we should have kept this Swamp in hand. 2 Tamiyos, not interested in those, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have exactly enough here. I guess we just put a land on top, just pad out our blue cards. Although, we're not going to be able to shuffle next anyway, so I guess we do it this way around. So we have the Flooded Strand on top that we draw next turn. This just gives us lethal next turn. And we've got Force of Will plus Daze to get through it. Alright, we got the game against double A-line. Cool. Not really cool, to be honest. Disgusting. We want these things. If our opponent's on, like, they've got a bunch of Urza lands and Karn. So are they running Dauthi Voidwalker? Is that a thing they're doing? I genuinely don't really know. They probably have the One Ring, which makes Orcish Bowmasters interesting. We've already seen the Leyline stuff, so we actually probably want to pivot away from graveyard stuff and into the fair plan anyway. Not that it really mattered last game. Like, I don't know if our opponent's running... I don't really know if our opponent's going to be running the, like, Glaring Fleshraker type stuff, or are they running Dauthi Voidwalkers for Helm of Obedience? I'm not really sure. I guess we'll take some just good, fair stuff and stick it in the deck. I'm 1 card over with this. Get rid of this Animate Dead, we don't need that. Okay, so that's a relatively clean split. Do we want to have access to any removal spells? Or are we just going to assume that our counter magic and like Brazen Borrowers will get there? I don't know if they're going to be running creatures or not. We've obviously got the Bitter Triumph, which can kill creatures or Karn. I think we'll probably just leave it at that, and then we can always address it for game 3 again. Our opener here, we have interaction for Urza's Saga, which is good. We have a decent turn 1 play. So we can Thoughtseize and then try and work our way out. I think this is acceptable. Our opponent might be able to play something really busted on turn 1, and, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, but I don't think we can throw back a nice Thoughtseize Wasteland hand. Our opponent is beginning with a Leyline in play. Did they skip through their first turn again? I think they did. Or they mulliganed for the Leyline very heavily, which won't matter here. Alright, let's get a Thoughtseize in before our opponent can do anything then. Feels a bit unfair, perhaps. Coslet's Command, Trinisphere, Trinisphere. Like, we can't take both the spheres, so we're going to have to work through them. We can also bury our opponent underneath their own Trinisphere with our Wastelands. There's a workshop, only taps for 1, so they're a little ways away from Trinisphere anyway. I could just Brainstorm. Let's just do Tamiyo Brainstorm and just get that ticking up straight away. Or I could play Tamiyo as a thing that's going to make us some clues, and then just Wasteland our opponent off of their land. I could save this for an Urza Saga, but we know our opponent's hand doesn't really go anywhere. Alright, Urza's mine. So we're going to get a clue this turn. Okay, Force of Will is exactly what we want here. We get to Brainstorm, put back some Murktide Regents here. And then we're just working towards... We don't want to put them both back because we want to keep a blue card in hand. But we at least get rid of one here. And then it's probably just a land. Fit with Tamiyo. Tamiyo starts going upstairs. We get ourselves a land here. We can go and get a Surveil land. We've got a counterspell for the first thing our opponent does that we care about. Which is going to be a Grim Monolith, a Voltaic Key. That's not what we care about right now. So we're going to get a Surveil land. Another Force of Will. Sure, put that on top of my library. Which means we can actually Force of Will one of these Trinispheres if we wish. Plus the Tamiyo. We can't get anything back from our graveyard anyway. Is it Dauthi Voidwalker that's better, or is it the Bowmasters? Dauthi Voidwalker clocks harder, so I think we're going to go for the harder clock here. We're not worried about the One Ring right now because we just have Force of Will ready to go. That's what they're up to. Grim Monolith. Could be. Kozilek's Command. What options? They're going to draw a card and make some spawns. I honestly don't care about that. Oh, sorry, they're just drawing a card, even. They're just trying to get a land deeper. Not great times for our opponent. And then Tamiyo is going to pop off in a sec, and I don't think our opponent's going to want to play this game when we have half of our deck in our hand. Right. Let's bash. I don't think we're worried about our opponent double spelling here, so I think we're just going to go and get another Voidwalker in. No graveyards for anyone. Alright, we're just trying to draw a card again. They found a land, but I don't think that's going to help them out here. You can have a Manifold Key. I'm about to draw most of my deck. Alright. Our opponent's had enough. It was unfortunate that they skipped through their first turns, but I think we can agree with the way this game played out there. I don't think it mattered. The first game where we beat double ley line was pretty gross. Let's go to round 2. Sure, nice little Tamiyo hand. I am going to play out this Underground Sea. If we get Wastelanded, it can be annoying. But we have 2 more lands ready to go. And I'd rather have this fetch land to make our Brainstorm better. Karakas. Rest in pieces, little Tamiyo. We're just going to turn into a Planeswalker this turn, I think. Alright, let's just crack this. Are we going to get an island this time, though? Against a lands deck? Or do we want a swamp? I think it's the island, because that can find us more swamps later on. I think our opponent can probably work out what's about to happen here, since we played the Tamiyo again. Okay, I don't really want this Archon of Cruelty, so that can get out of here. Tamiyo is probably going to be our blue card to pitch to Force at this point. So we could put back the Undercity Sewers and just draw that next turn. That's fine. We can then mill over the Archon and reanimate it. That seems pretty darn good. Alright, we've got a problem for our opponent to deal with. And we're about to have another one backed by Force of Will. Once upon a time, are we looking at green-white depths? Could be like Mavericky. Feels a bit more depthy though. Malevolent Rumble. Okay, could just be full-on lands build though. Alright, Life from Alone. So what are they going to put in their hand here? Probably... Okay, they put the Thespian Stage in their hand. Okay. Oh, plus the Tamiyo. Just get that rolling. Undercity Sewers. Oh, would you look at that? Just a monster. Put that into the graveyard, please. Giant monster. Yes, please. Do you have an endurance in hand right now? We will counter it if you do. Alright, they've had enough. To the sideboard. Okay, so we're looking at some sort of lands deck. So the Engine Explosives are probably one of our best ways of getting through our opponent's sagas and stuff like that. Obviously, we have Wasteland as well. How are we dealing with Marit Lage? 2 Brazen Borrowers. That's probably the best way through that. Daze is definitely out here. Probably just want some like fairish looking creatures. Like the Dauthi Voidwalker is very good against our opponent's graveyard based strategy. We're keeping the Nihil Spellbomb. How much do I like Thoughtseizes? I'm not big into them. We definitely want this I definitely want this Force of Negation, because that can hit a life from below. Do I want... So things I'm not 100% sure we necessarily want in the list. We could be trimming some of the graveyard plan, but I don't think we need to. If our opponent gets the hooks in, then we're in trouble. But we're not trying to just send the graveyard plan unless we know it's safe, which kind of makes the Thoughtseizes look a little bit better than a Force, maybe, so that we can know the coast is clear. But then Force of Will can make sure the coast is clear and can also counter things like the crop rotation, which can be pretty spooky for us. Okay, we're going to try this. Okay. I will keep this so we can Tamiyo into Dauthi Voidwalker. I think that's better than the Ponder here. The Ponder is our backup plan if we get wasted. So this is Mox Diamond. Okay, so the combo is probably going to be accessible to our opponent. Are they going to Life from the Loam here? A Malevolent Rumble, that's not a Life from the Loam. Okay, so they get one of these 3 permanents. They chose Disruptor Flute. And they had a Pithing Needle from hand. This is going to name Wasteland. It is going to name Wasteland. Okay, well we have Brazen Borrower, which answers the Dark Depths, if that's their strategy here. So we know we're not getting Wasteland now, so we can be the ones to just get an Underground Sea happily. There are also options where we can bounce the Pithing Needle and then Wasteland, if we just float our Wasteland and play, but that's going to be a thing for a few turns' time. I think the strategy for us is to get the Dauthi Voidwalker in, and then we can worry about other things afterwards. We just want to make sure their graveyard isn't a zone they get to play with. We are going to have to get through some Urza Saga constructs. But we did bring in the Engineered Explosives, so we might be able to dig our way towards that. Probably doing some like pondering into graveyard shenanigans soon. So this is what, a 3/3, the next one's going to be big. And then probably swinging quite large. So we might be forced to Brazen Borrower away a token soon. A crop rotation. I don't really want them to have a crop rotation. So they didn't make a guy here, that's really good for us. So then they're going to, Expedition Map, they're going to go for the Dark Depths combo. Hopefully they do, and we can just blow them out with this Brazen Borrower. Okay, just another Saga. I think that is the correct play here. Yep, we'll take 3 here. It's just 3. I think if they'd have made another guy, they would have been in a better spot. Okay, we have a Wasteland. Are we just Pithing Needle there? Yeah, I think that's the plan here, isn't it? We play out the Wasteland, we bounce their Pithing Needle, take out their Saga, swing both of our creatures. We're a little bit behind on the race, but we've got these clues to crack. We can see how we fare. Now, if our opponents just baited us into like a longer line with a... Okay, so here's just the Pithing Needle again. A longer line where they get the Dark Depths going. Sure. What is underneath the Dauthi? That's kind of important. We can have another Saga of our very own. I don't think that's as good as shutting off their graveyard and beating them for 3 every turn, though. This could name Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, they name Wasteland again. I really like the lands deck at the moment. I think it's very good. If we draw a land, then we can just deploy this Borrower, and then we can swing the race. Disruptor Flute. This is going to give them 4 damage this turn. What are they going to name? Tamiyo, Seasoned Scholar. So that's the backside of Tamiyo, so I don't really want to flip the Tamiyo anymore. A Brazen Borrower. Sure. We can hold up clues, or we can hold up this Borrower. Whether or not we're... Okay, so we are not able to bounce this anymore. You just take the hit and then crack the clue. I think Tamiyo is now back on blocks. A Brainstorm. Not really one I want to cast, to be honest. That takes away our clutch blocker here. A Wasteland. And we can't really solve all the problems we have with this Wasteland. We need the Tamiyo to block. Cut this Wasteland. And we pass. To get a Dark Depths here. Do I bounce it now? I want our opponent to have less mana available to do stuff. But we are still on chump blocking with Tamiyo mode. Now Tamiyo is going to flip, but we're not going to be able to do anything because of the Disruptor Flute. So we need to get somewhere here. Block. I will Brainstorm here. This doesn't have trample, so we can just take our cards and go. A Dismember on the Tamiyo. Sure. A Force of Will. Okay, I guess we put back 2 Reanimates. Alright, we've got another chump blocker though. So we attack for 3 here. We crack this. Go and find Swamp of some description, or Underground Sea, sorry. I think we reanimate the Tamiyo here, because this just gives us the ability to hold up the Force of Will, whilst also deploying the Borrower, which gives us lethal next turn. So I think we've managed to finagle our way through. We've got a counter for the next thing our opponent does. We have a chump blocker. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. What could get us with 2 cards? Our opponent says they didn't think it was worth using the Reanimate, but they didn't know that we had a Force of Will and we needed to keep up the blue card here. Alright, that is the match. Let's go to round 3. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Basic Island and Ponder and Tamiyo. This seems fine. We can work our way towards Black Mana. Misty Rainforest. And we've found our other land. Cool. Let's get a Tamiyo in. If our opponent interacts with this, do I Daze to protect? That's something to think about. We're going to get Entombed, or is this going to be a Surveil land? Who knows? It's a Surveil land. Alright. A blue-white deck. Could be a Control-y Yorion build by the looks of it. Could be a Breakfast Yorion build. I haven't seen Breakfast Yorion for a long time. We'll see. Could be... Okay, just do I care about this enough? How good is this Daze getting? I think we'll just say no to this right now. If our opponent wants to fight, then we can Thoughtseize the equipment out of the hand. Let's take a peek at what you're working with, opponent. Force of Will. Pitching Narcomoose. So they are a Yorion Breakfast deck. And maybe we fell into the trap of countering their Stoneforge Mystic. Cool. Would honestly be refreshing to get killed by a Yorion Breakfast deck. Pre-war Formal Wear. Out comes the Stoneforge. What are they going to shoot her up? Cauldra Complete. Yeah, that's a big one. We've got Borrowers that we can use. So this turn is probably a Ponder turn, I think. Force of Will isn't really what we're looking for right now. I think this is just a shuffle. Hey, we found the Borrower. So we take 1 hit from the Cauldra. And then we get to Borrower the Germ away. We're obviously under pressure still because this is a 3-4 with Vigilance. They're going to be making as a Saga Construct tokens potentially. I imagine they just get the Cauldra in. But maybe they just want to grind and they go for the Urza Saga Constructs first. Because they still get to attack with the Stoneforge. They're only missing 2 damage by not putting the Cauldra in. But then they also get to make a Construct. I think I actually like making Constructs here. Yeah, our opponent agrees. Okay, if we take 3, and he's going to sit back, make some large friends. I think we're in trouble here. Ponder, save me. Any order shuffle, please. That's not going to save us. Force of Will. That's not really what I'm about right now, is it? Okay, so we can play out this Polluted Delta. We got some choices here. We can Ponder again, or we can Surveil land to try and spike for the Reanimate, or we can hold up Clue/Borrower. So this is going to be a 2, then it's going to be a 3, then it's going to be a 4. So Tamiyo can't absorb that damage anyway. How are we getting out of this one? We probably need to Reanimate something. I don't think we're going to Surveil land. I think we're going to Ponder. The amount of time we have left to leverage this Reanimate is pretty small as well. This is going to flip our Tamiyo, so we should probably go to attacks first and get the Tamiyo Clue. I don't think they're going to bap us with anything instant speed wise. Okay, so let's Ponder. None of these. Thoughtseize though. That's awkward for a number of reasons. This was going to reduce the amount of damage we take. So we can Thoughtseize away something from their hand. I think we have to do that. This is going to force them to make their Cauldra instead of the size is going to be like a 1 mana Dismember for their Construct token, if you think of it that way. Yep, there's a Cauldra. Oh, that's a big old beastie, isn't it? Alright, we'll take their Force of Will, lead them with just the Saga. Okay, so we get a Brazen Borrower off on this next turn, but we're going to take 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to shut off our Reanimate plan. Oh no, we take less because of the Tamiyo. And maybe they attack the Tamiyo, which gives us even more purchase here. Because if we get back a Ponder, we might be able to find something that works here. If they've got Boots of going fast, that's going to be pretty scary for us. If they've got... Okay, it's just a Soulguide Lantern. That makes the Reanimate plan significantly more difficult. Okay, there's the other Saga that we knew about. This is what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage if they go at us. Okay, so they're going 1 at the Tamiyo, so we're only taking 2 damage a turn. So if it wasn't for this Soulguide Lantern, Reanimates would still be online. Okay, so we can bounce out the Cauldron Germ. I guess we just draw a card first. I think our opponent's going to have us here. And Entomb. I don't think Entomb Reanimate stuff is on the menu anymore. I think we have to bounce this one out. Take a hit. Yeah, it's looking bad for us. But we are not the hero today. So we can all rejoice in the villain being defeated. We have an interesting choice here. Because both of these hit for 5. The next one hits for... These will hit for 6 next turn. So it actually prevents more damage if we pay theft the token from the Saga rather than the Cauldron. That feels horrible. But it is what it is. We don't really have proper removal anyway. Not in the main deck. Right, so we're going to take a huge chunk of our life here. And then we're very dead on the next turn. We don't know what's on top of our library. Archon of Cruelty. Well, we can't do anything with that. Let's just draw a card, I guess. Entomb. I think we're just going to scoop it up. I don't think our opponent knows we're Reanimate a deck yet. They might be able to surmise it from what's going on there. Okay, so things I like. An answer to Ezra Saga. Yes, please. Energy Flux is kind of interesting, actually. If they are on Cephalid Breakfast, then they showed us a Narcomoeba, so I think they are. So the Dauthi Voidwalker would be good. So we're also going to want removal. What doesn't look good in a matchup like this? 1 for 1, like 2 for 1 stuff in a trading matchup like this doesn't feel great. So maybe we take these out. I'm not sure we actually want the Energy Flux. It was just something I was considering that might have text. If you want the Dazes on the play, they're pretty good. Kind of lose a little bit of juice on at the board. I like the Spellbomb. How much do I like our graveyard plan? Our opponent didn't see it in game 1, so I do still like it. Maybe... Do we take out some Dazes? Our opponent's going to play around them. But maybe we don't give them enough time to play around them. I kind of like 1 Force of Will so we can at least spike it off of the Atraxa hits. Seems like a reasonable option. But maybe we just don't get to do all those things. Maybe we can trim a Reanimate Dead. Go a little bit lighter on the package. Feels like the Daze are the things that are coming out, doesn't it? Just by the way the numbers work. And we're just going to rely on removal spells and graveyard hate. Right, this could be wrong, but I don't... Our opponent's deck is going to be a fair, like, Stoneforge style grindy deck that then can pivot into combo most of the time. Because if they were like a direct combo deck, they'd be a 60-card deck. Sure, I'll keep this. I'm going to go for the Thoughtseize first. To get a clean look at our opponent's hand before any Brainstorms can protect it. Okay, Tamiyo, Cephalid Illusionist, Brainstorm, Soulguide Lantern. We can touch butts with their Tamiyo. That's not that exciting. It's just a Brainstorm, most likely, isn't it? It's the Brainstorm or the Soulguide Lantern. I think it's the Brainstorm. Like, we don't have the thing to go with the Reanimate with the Entomb anyway. And if we spike it next turn, then they're probably still going to play out the Tamiyo anyway, so we just get to go. And Brainstorm is objectively the most powerful card in our opponent's hand. Although Tamiyo cuts it close, but they have 2, so we don't really get to choose that one. Misty Rainforest. How scared of our graveyard are they? They could take this more cautiously and play the Soulguide Lantern. They're going for Tamiyo. I think this is correct. They could get punished if we just spike a Reanimate off the top. We didn't spike the Reanimates. That's good for our opponent. I'll play out this land with intention of getting a Surveil land. And I'll play out my Tamiyo. Dueling Tamiyos. Their Soulguide Lantern can interfere with our Tamiyo getting stuff back, so maybe we can use the Tamiyo getting something back as the bait, so we can minus our Tamiyo Planeswalker. They Soulguide Lantern so we don't get the card, and then we use Entomb Reanimate over the top. They have a horrible time. There's a Saga. It's good. We've got an answer to it, but it's still good. This is going to be the Soulguard Lantern, I suspect. There it is. We're going to exile our Thoughtseize to try and make Murktide Regents harder for us to cast. Let's go and find a Surveil land. We don't really want a swamp right now. I don't think our opponent's going to be messing with our land too much. An Entomb. Alright. Our play here is pretty simple. It's Wasteland this Saga. Get our clue. Am I going to fire in with this clue right now? No, I guess we just hold open mana because it makes our opponent think about something. They're not going to be thinking about Counterspell as an actual card, but maybe removal spells if they try and combo off. Obviously, they need like a Lotus Petal or something to deploy all the cards they need to for that. Right, we're just going to be exchanging Tamiyo glances. I'm not expecting black mana out of our opponent's deck. I think they're on Bant. We saw green in the previous game. There is a basic plains, playing around potential stifles. An Atraxa, not the one we wanted. Okay, so let's clue up again. I think I'm going to get Surveil land here. I guess we don't have to do it now, really. A Brainstorm. Yes. An interestingly poised game here. A prismatic ending. That is annoying. That is an annoying one. Obviously, they can prismatic ending the backside as well. If we manage to have it flipped. Alright, let's draw a card. Are they going to draw a card in response, same as last time? Alright, Brainstorm. You got some work to do here. Obviously, the Atraxa's going back. And we'll put back one of these Entombs, I guess. We don't need a million Entombs. But fetch land. We've got Dauthi Voidwalker. And then we can shuffle away those Brainstorm cards in a bit. This shuts down their Cephalid Illusionist combo. Obviously, they're a white deck. They're going to have plows and endings and stuff. Probably Teferi in there as well. But you got to do what you got to do. Our opponent has got the Howling Mine going, but it is taking them 2 mana a turn to crack these clues. And we can hopefully deploy some more threats and just keep pressuring our opponent. Swords to Plowshares. Sure. Cracking a clue. They got any sort of cantrip to flip the Tamiyo? They don't. I'm going to crack this Flooded Strand now. We don't need Revolt to activate anything here. We're cracking it before I draw step anyway. Reanimate. How many cards are our opponent's hand? Quite a lot. But it's getting worse for us as time goes by. So what can we do here? If we go Underground Sea, we can bounce the Soulguard Lantern and then just Entomb Reanimate. I think that's fine. They can crack this so that our Petty Theft, so our Brazen Borrower goes to exile. Goes into the graveyard rather than exile on an adventure. Or they can think, oh, I want this Soulguard Lantern. Now we get to play around Daze here. We won't have a good time into a Force of Will. They had a Force of Will on our Petty Theft. Okay. I will take that, I guess. What do they pitch that one? A Tamiyo. Sure. That does kind of tip our hand as to what we're actually doing over here. But if we find another reanimation spell, we can Entomb Reanimate. They pop this, we Entomb Reanimate again. Sure. They can crack the other clue and flip the Tamiyo, and then we're going to start being under pressure. Now, an Archon of Cruelty can kill a Tamiyo. Another Entomb. That's not the one we wanted. I'm going to hold this land for Brainstorm purposes and just pass. I think our opponent not flipping the Tamiyo is an interesting choice. It's probably the right one because they're just going to be gaining loads of card advantage off of it. And this game is basically going to come down to who has the most resources. The window of cheesing them has kind of fallen by the wayside here. Alright, there's a Dread Return in their graveyard. Who's a Reanimator deck now, I guess. Yep. In comes a Tamiyo again. Drawing a card straight away. This is because they might be able to assemble the combo right now. A Ponder. Okay, so they are flipping the Tamiyo this turn. Alright, so the old Tamiyo is ticking up. I think this game is done. Stoneforge, sure, have some more goodness going on. I think we need to find Reanimate this turn. Orcish Bowmasters. Do I think I can resolve an Orcish Bowmasters and have it stick around in the face of our opponent's ultimate in their Tamiyo? Is that what we're trying to do here? Kind of feels like it is. We can also use it to kill the Shuke. But, sorry, to kill the Illusionist in response to the Shuke. That makes more sense, but it's a little bit ugly for us. Alright, so putting in an uncounterable Shuke here, I think. Or, nope, just a Cauldron. Yeah. I guess we're going to take a hit. So they're going to make the Shuko. They're going to equip it to the Fraction Germ token. bash us for a healthy 6 damage. And then they're going to play the Illusionist and try and combo us as well. They're going to get back their Force of Will first. Offers Tamiyo. We don't know if they've got another blue card. That's like the one thing we're trying to fade, I guess. But this game is very over to me. Yep, there goes the Force of Will. Our opponent just having a great time. Uncounterable Self Illusionist as well. Cool. I'm not even mad. Like, we're... Oh, they're putting the Euro into hand without even playing the guy. Do I try and be cost efficient and remove the Tamiyo? Does that matter? No. Does any of this matter? Okay, this does matter now. Oh, do we really fail to find? Oh, that's annoying. 6 mana is actually a really key amount here. Okay, so Entomb. Get Atraxa. Reanimate Atraxa. They pop their Soul Red Lantern. Entomb. I think this is too late, unfortunately. We know they've got a Force of Will as well. Reanimate the Archon. Oh, they're letting us have the Archon. They'll probably just sack the Tamiyo or the Stoneforge here. They're planning in response. Can we draw a land that taps for mana? We don't have any fetchables, actually. No, we have Wasteland. We can draw Wasteland. And that gives us the Orcish Bowmasters to ping this down and chump block. But then they're going to attack with these first. We did draw the Wasteland. Oh wait, we already played that stupid land. We didn't have any fetchables. Ugh. Yeah. Like, I don't think we're winning this game if we're just chump blocking here anyway. We got absolutely bodied there. Alright, on to round 4. It's asking for a lot, this Brainstorm. But Brainstorm is a pretty good card. I will keep this. It's not quite the Island Pond to keep, but it's a little bit of a reactive hand. We just need to find an Entomb or something and we can really start popping off. Misty Rainforest. Birds of Paradise. Sure. We're looking at Cradle Control. Could be Nadu as well. I will deploy an Underground Sea and pass. We have access to a Brainstorm in a pinch. I don't think we're going to need it though. We have Force of Will and Daze at the ready. It's going to be like a 2 mana play. It's going to be a Scythecat Cub. A Green Sun's Zenith, X equals 1. Do I want to Daze this? Do I want to Daze this? Going back on a land is really annoying. The Daze isn't getting any better. I think I'll take this exchange. It's probably getting like an Elvish Reclaimer. I'll deploy an Underground Sea again. Elvish Reclaimer can kind of just take over again quite easily. It could have just been a mana drop they were going for, but then we're also like stunting their growth here. Second verse, same as the first, I guess. I kind of want this Murktide or something to work towards, but I think we Brainstorm first and get more information about what we want to pitch to a Force of Will. Okay, we have a Tamiyo now. We got a whole bunch of lands we don't want to draw. Okay, I think we pitch the Murktide. That's probably a thing for a little bit later. Get Tamiyo down. We've got a Surveil land, which clears the top. I'm struggling a little bit for mana, so hopefully we can run them over a little bit. A Birds of Paradise. Sure. And they've got a land. Sure. Nice old border Windswept Heath from the Modern Horizons set. Should probably pick some of those up myself at some point. They're certainly cheaper than the Onslaught. Old borders. Okay. Undercity Sewers. Get out of here, Tamiyo. We've already got you. Don't need backup, Tamiyo. Oh, okay. Does our opponent have Endurance in hand? And a green card? If they do, then we still have Tamiyo stuff going on. We just trade 2 for 2 and move on with our lives. They're doing this so that we can't ninjutsu and Kaito. Alright, Entomb. I think I'll get the Atraxa here. It usually leads to another Entomb down the line. Do you have green card Endurance? It is possible. Likely even. Sure. So this is a 2 for 2 trade. Our opponent's down to just what they have on board, so I think our board is actually better, but our opponent's got some nice top decks because they've got mana to funnel into top decks. Things like Green Sun Zenith, we've already got rid of 2 of those. Well, that was just a 2 for 2 trade because we made them pitch cast Endurance. We did mention that was a thing that would happen, and we're okay with it happening. Obviously, if they don't have it, we just win the game immediately. If they do have it, we continue playing, but we are drawing an extra card every turn. They're going to go and fetch probably a Lush Portico. No, it's going to be the... Oh! Trop Clients, we are on the Nadu build. So our opponent might be able to assemble Nadu combo this turn. They can sacrifice 3 land. They can sacrifice 2 lands to their Nadu. Okay, so the gauntlet has been thrown down. There is Nadu stuff in the pipeline. An Entomb, you say? I guess I'm going to crack this. just in case we find the Reanimate. And just get to go again. Okay, we don't get to go again. Okay, I think we're going to flip the Tamiyo now. This will make it so they can't attack us for damage. And then next turn we can buy back the Reanimate and get Atraxa into play. And Thoughtseize our opponent. Allosaurus Shepherd. Alright. They don't really have the mana to funnel into this just yet. 0 cards in hand for our opponent. Let's return this Reanimate. Entomb. Get Atraxa. This finds us. This is more likely to find us some answers to their combo if they draw it off the top. I would like to have a little bit of Force of Will for a Nadu. We found the Force of Will. I will take the Force of Will. I will take the... We've already got a Wasteland now. I'll take a Wasteland now though. And a Ponder. And I might as well take this Animate Dead. Take this out. I think we Ponder here. Any order shuffle. Okay. So we've got Force of Will blue card ready to go. So we're not going to get... Oh, actually that's not true because they've got the Allosaurus Shepherd here, haven't they? I think we're supposed to bounce the Allosaurus Shepherd. Yeah, we might be dead this turn. We're not dead this turn. Okay, cool. I think that was awkward. Actually, no, we can't bounce the Allosaurus Shepherd because they have the Safekeeper as well. But they only have one land. Okay, let's ponder. Let's see if we can find something more useful here. I don't mind the Brainstorm, but we're going to have to crack the fetch before we Brainstorm anyway. We still get to see more cards. Sure, I think that's fine. We have the Animate Dead here, actually, don't we? So what we can do is we can Undercity Sewers. Hold in priority, we can Brainstorm on over the top. This way, if we find the Archon of Cruelty, we can get it in. We didn't find the Archon of Cruelty. I don't really want the Wasteland, so that can just go back. Interesting. There's nothing good we can reanimate, really. Daze is not really great either, though. I think we go Daze, Wasteland, and then we mill over the Daze. Plus the Tamiyo. Attack with the Atraxa. Am I trying to Borrower and making them sacrifice a land? So they have the mana to play the Nadu anyway, which is the problem here. It does feel awkward. The other option was to play the Murktide, but we can force them to sacrifice a land. Don't put blue in the pool. Don't put blue in the pool. Springheart Nantuko. This can't be counted. Right, I think we fire this off. Make them sacrifice a land. Because they have no more lands. Oh wow, they're just letting it go. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can't count this on the way back down, unfortunately. But this makes more elves if they find more lands. I guess maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're not supposed to do that. I was hoping they would sacrifice the lands, to be honest. That was what I was going for in that one. We don't have any Surveil lands left, do we? So what are we going to do here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can make a big Murktide and then Daze it ourselves. This sounds weird, but I think it's... Actually, no, we don't need to do that, do we? We can just go and get back our Archon of Cruelty here, can't we? We can just go get the Entomb. Then Entomb, Animate Dead. We're just going to start whittling our way through their permanents. But if they draw a Nadu, we might just die. We don't have a removal spell, but again, we could try and bounce their guys. Is it worth trying to Ponder here? We're just playing... I guess we can Ponder, and then we also have more stuff going on off of this Misty Rainforest anyway. Reanimate. This is any order and shuffle, I think. Force of Will. At least Force of Will is not really doing the business for us. I will attack with this Atraxa. They probably have to block here for fear of Orcish Bowmasters. But they might just say, well, we're not being that anyway, let's just hope for the best. The thing is, our opponent can just win this game by drawing a Nadu, which is crazy. Okay, so we'll get rid of some stuff, make a massive Murktide. Our opponent is the top card of your library. A Nadu. Or a Green Sun, right? I have enough to Green Sun for the Nadu. They did not find the Nadu. Okay. Phew. Removal spells, please. Let's have as many of them as we can fit in. That's some. So our opponent's not running like Cephalid Illusionist type stuff. It's just like the Nadu Zenith build. At least that's what I believe. So Dazes are pretty bad against our opponent's Mana Dork deck, so they can get out of here. We don't really need a Nihil Spellbomb here. So that can go. That leaves us needing one more. I think we keep all the graveyard nonsense in. Even though our opponent's going to have stuff for it, I think it's still fine. How much do I like Barrowgoyfs? Our opponent's got white mana, so they can plow our Barrowgoyfs. Which doesn't fill me with the most amount of joy. But Barrowgoyf is just pretty good. They can also chump block Barrowgoyfs a whole bunch. I think we're not big on force, are we? Like, it's a thing we kind of need, but I think we can trim one and just have this 60. Island Ponder. We've also got the Tamiyo. Not sure our opponent's deck has any space for Wastelands, but I guess we'll find out one way or the other. They're going for a Dryad Arbor, that's fine. We have Entomb Reanimate backed up by Force of Will here. I wouldn't like to see them play a Allosaurus Shepherd. Then it's uncounterable endurance, and that's not where we want to be. Now I have to just think about this Entomb in our hand, potentially, because why would we not do something with our mana? We getting the bits in with a Dryad Arbor? We are. Right, let's just send. I kind of want to just get an Archon of Cruelty and start whittling away their permanents. Is that wrong? So we can pitch the Murktide if they play the Endurance here. What do we get out of their hand? A Chord of Calling. Do you have another Endurance? Alright, their opponent's had enough. And that is the end of the match. So we're 4 rounds in. We are 3-1, 3 2-0s, 1-0-2. Let's see if we can get a 4-1 in the final round. How do I feel about this hand? It doesn't do anything, really. It's asking a lot of our Surveil lands. We are on the draw. We do have a couple of Wastelands, which can be a good way of slowing the game down until we find our stuff. I think we'll try it. We'll just see how our deck functions on this one. We might just be able to slow the game right down and then go over the top. Alright, Undercity Sewers. It's up to you. Find me a spell that I like. I don't really want a Force of Will here. I might tell our opponent that we already have one. But right now this Murktide Regent is just Force of Will fodder. Things could change. We could draw more blue cards like cantrips and stuff. Then all of a sudden the power of this Murktide will increase. Just 2 Undercity Sewers facing off. Is this going to be a mirror match? Should be. Because on average you play 1 blue-black Reanimator matchup per league. Because it's over 20% of the meta right now. Hey, Ponder. Got a lot of selection going on over there for our opponent. They shuffled off that Ponder though. A Nihil Spellbomb. I would like to get that one down. Let's play out the Spellbomb. Oh, the Force of Willing. If our opponent wants to Force of Will this, then I want to Force of Will back. This means this is a very important game object. And this also cantrips for us. Okay. This one of main deck Spellbomb might be real clutch here. Do I just entomb my own thing here? No, that's fine. You take it. We know they've got reanimation stuff in hand. We don't want to have to burn our Spellbomb on our own thing and not get the card out of it. I'd rather just take the Spellbomb action. Alright, Tamiyo. No follow-up land, though. So we can get in at them with Wastelands now. If our opponent can't spend the mana to crack the clues, we don't really care about Tamiyo. Obviously, if they Brainstorm and flip it, then we're in a different problem. A Wasteland, sure. I don't think you want to play this game, opponent, with the old Wastelands. They agreed. Alright, let's go and get an Undercity Sewers. I think this Wasteland needs to be mana to crack their clue token. I'll take a Ponder. I will deploy the Wasteland straight away so that we know there's no Orcish Bowmasters shenanigans. You crack that clue. Be my guest. Now it's our turn to ponder and find something. A Thoughtseize, a Brainstorm. I like these cards. I think we're going to save the Brainstorm for next turn, just Thoughtseize this turn. Entomb, Animate Dead, Daze. Double Entomb means they might be able to go over the top twice. This is something we can play around pretty easily here. I'll take the Animate Dead. They're going to be making a lot of clues. There might come a time when they just want to try and hit us with this Wasteland, try and slow us down and make their... Well, I guess their Daze isn't going to be functional until they get an island. But if they draw an island, maybe they hit us with that. Alright, I'm going to play out my fetch land. Genuinely, I quite like this Daze in our hand. So we're just kind of looking for... not that, I guess. We could have Surveil land first. I guess we're just going to put these back like this. And I will Surveil Land now, just in case we... Oh no, we don't have a Surveil Land, do we? Well, we're going to shuffle that pile anyway. Alright, Tamiyo's going to keep Tamiyoing. No land for our opponent, that's fine. Brainstorm, yes please. A Murktide Regent, you say? I do care for Murktide Regents. Alright, we have an 8-8 now. They know that we're on Reanimate as well because they saw an Entomb earlier. They have Wastelands. They don't feel great right now. Cracking a clue. The attacking with the Tamiyo will now cease. And we get to start cracking in. This is a 2-turn clock. Our opponent probably has to jump on next turn. Okay, so found their Polluted Delta. I don't think they know about this Daze. They're going to 6. No play. Interesting. Just keep sending in the big boy. Here comes a chump. Got a Brainstorm to flip it. They do have a Brainstorm to flip it. That's fine. Murktide is still lethal through a Tamiyo plus next turn. I can't get anything back yet. Sure, you can ponder. The more mana they spend, the more likely this Daze is to do something. If our opponent Brazen Borrowers... Okay, they didn't do it. I was thinking if they Brazen Borrower, do we try and crack the Nihil Spellbomb to find the answer? I don't think we do. Alright. We got game 1 thanks to our sideboard card. Beautiful. Let's play some Dauthi Voidwalkers. What else do we like here? Removal spells for fair creatures and Orcish Bowmasters. These all seem good. How much do I just want to just say no to the reanimation side of the deck? So we have this because it deals with Tamiyo. So we could just board into a fair deck. That honestly seems pretty reasonable. We don't want to be the one entombing because our opponent can get stuff back. I wouldn't mind having access to like a reanimate in our deck. Just so I know it's there. Maybe we could take out 2 Dazes for 2 reanimates. This could see us come on a bit of a cropper if they wasteland us. But we get a draw step and we get a ponder. So I think this is okay. This is a bit of a game of attrition sometimes. So keeping 7 is important because you just need the great amount of resources. Okay, I'm going to hold this up so I can pay around a Daze. If they go Entomb. Alright, just a Surveil Land, sure. Because we hit the second land, we didn't need to ponder looking for a second land. If I don't hit that second land, I probably have to ponder to make sure we have a second land. So they still have Atraxas in their deck. Hello, we have the Reanimate there. That's pretty good. And we can pay around a Daze as they try and reanimate that. Now, if they have a Force of Will, then sure, they're just in, and we don't really get to play Magic very much. Cool. Cool. Just hitting the Surveil, the blind Surveil. Yikes. But, you know, we're getting our own medicine, so we can't really complain. So we're going to take Tamiyo, Flooded Strand, Inquisition, go for the throat. And they played the Flooded Strand out, so now they're going to Inquisition us and take our Brazen Borrower, I suspect. And that's going to make things a little bit tricky. Let's go and get Undercity Sewers. Fatal Push. You do not deal with the problem we currently face. A Dauthi Voidwalker. Also, they use a Thoughtseize, not Inquisition. Okay. It's what we've got. I think we play this turn. Let me try and do some surveillance stuff. If they go for the throat we can play the other Dauthi Voidwalker, which will then have the go for the throat underneath it. So the next turn cycle, we get to kill that guy. Murktide Regent as well. Yeah, we just pat this one in. I think we've had enough there. Are we supposed to be sending the graveyard plan on the play? I do like playing the fair build here. Dazes obviously look a bit better here. But I like a second reanimate. The Daze is so good on the play though. Alright. Comparatively. We're going to go again with the fair plan and see if it works. Normally I've been having success when playing the fair plan. Alright, I'll keep this. We Thoughtseize into Dauthi, possibly. We could ponder on turn 1, but I think we just need to Thoughtseize. If we get wasted, then, you know, it sucks. But this game normally isn't about wastelanding and stuff. So what do we have here? Entomb, Reanimate, Archon of Cruelty, Fatal Push, Thoughtseize. I think it's the Thoughtseize we take here. We can get the Dauthi in potentially next turn. We also have Force of... Oh, they drew... Oh. No. You're not allowed to see my hand. This is their only land, though. So we go Ponder. None of these are land. This is a shuffle. Okay. Can I draw a land before our opponent gets to assemble their hand? If they get a land, they can Entomb in response to the Voidwalker, which kind of sucks. They might go for the Fatal Push. I kind of want them to go for the Fatal Push here, if I'm being honest. Because if they Entomb, they do run the risk of Reanimate being our top deck, if they can't immediately send it. Okay. In comes a Tamiyo. So they're going to Entomb. I think we have to counter the Entomb here. If we wait, we might be able to pick up the Reanimate and then leave a guy in the bin. But then they probably have more Reanimation effects than we do. Now if they've drawn Force of Will here, then we just eat it. Okay, they didn't draw Force of Will. Good. But Murktide Regent is becoming a problem if they draw the land here. Fatal Push. Okay, they didn't find a land. I will take a Wasteland here. Not a Wasteland. I'll take any land in our deck. Undercity Sewers is not ideal, but I'll still take it. Okay, I guess this is what we're doing. Reanimate, Archon of Cruelty. A Brainstorm to flip the Tamiyo is really annoying. I think it's the Brainstorm that goes, isn't it? Single island double ponder. I'm happy with the keep we had, even though we've kind of bricked on lands for a little while. Are we about to see our own demise? Or are we going to break out of this? Okay, we are not going to see our own demise. Get rid of those two. Play this. Crack this. Let's get Ponder going. We probably need to respect their ability to reanimate something here. Okay, so we have Force of Will. I'd rather play a Murktide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if they play a Murktide, it will be a large Murktide. But we can nail that. Thoughtseize. It's so backbreaking. What do they take here? They took our Murktide. Yeah, that's fair. But they at least can't make a Murktide this turn. So we can just start playing Dauthi Voidwalkers. And we're just against... Can we beat Tamiyo is what happens then. So we have blue cards go with our Force of Will because of the way we stacked it. We're just going to slam Dauthis over and over. And then hopefully we can Force of Will this Murktide. Fatal Push. Sure. We've got another one. Undercity Sewers. Our opponent has been drawing better than us. But we still have a lot of stuff in this game that we can do. Alright, they milled over Thoughtseize. So now they're at 2 mana, they're going to start cracking these clues. And things are going to go a bit scarily for us. Okay, so let's play this out. We don't want to play out Tamiyo because we need to keep the Force of Will so we can counterspell the Murktide Regent. They could reanimate our Murktide Regent and then play their own Murktide Regent, growing the first one. That sounds terrifying. We are not allowed to let this resolve. It's gone. So we have the clock. They have the card advantage. What have they got in exile? Just a Murktide. That's not better than a Dauthi Voidwalker. Brazen Borrower. That is interesting. We can flash it in and kill their Tamiyo. They will just play another one, but we are pressuring our opponent before they leverage all these clues. That is the way we win this game. They've got an additional 4 cards queued up. Okay, let's cast Brazen Borrower. Sure, you can Inquisition of Kozilek and see no cards. 3 cards in our opponent's hand and we know them all. They can't flip the Tamiyo this turn. Are they going to reanimate a Murktide Regent just as a 3-3? That's reasonable. They could reanimate our Dauthi Voidwalker. They're going for our Dauthi Voidwalker, sure. So these can trade in combat. I'm going to send in the team. Our opponent's just stalling until they can crack these clues. So Shadow blocks a Shadow here. And then we just make a big Murktide. Right, Daze is the worst card in our graveyard to bring back. Thoughtseize not looking great, so take those. We've already got 2 Force of Wills. I'll get rid of a Brainstorm here. Okay. just for the purposes of Tamiyo, we need to make sure that we've got some good stuff kicking around in our graveyard. Doesn't feel like it's going to be that sort of game. So our opponent is on chump blocks next turn. Yeah, have you cracked that clue? If they did chump block last turn, then they could have got a fresh Tamiyo down. They might have a Brainstorm so they can block and flip. Alright, let's draw a card ourselves. A Nihil Spellbomb. Not a bad one to have access to, is it? Alright, let's just dump it into play right now. A Daze. So we can Daze this back, but it doesn't do anything because they'll just pay. If they have a Brainstorm, then we made an error by doing that. They have the Brainstorm. Yeah. We could Daze the Brainstorm. I don't think we need to Daze the Brainstorm though. This is still very lethal next turn. I think we need to Daze to break up a combination of like Entomb Reanimate. If we'd have waited till post-combat main phase and played that, then our Daze could have worked. But would we Daze to protect that? Probably not. A Ponder. Alright. Tamiyo, sure. Just treading water again. We can come in for a lot of damages. I think we have to be attacking our opponent's life total here. So I'm going to take 3 this turn. And we get another threat that's going to shut down any graveyard lines. A big part of why this game is one that we can win is because our opponent's got cards in hand that aren't necessarily doing anything, whereas we've trimmed all the fat from our deck. So like everything we have does something. It's not like we've got like one Reanimate in our deck, but everything is like individually like a piece that is useful. I'm not sure this Daze is going to get us where we need to go, but I'm also not sure that we need it to do anything. They probably don't have this Archon of Cruelty in their hand because they did Brainstorm and Shuffle earlier. But we have some amount of lethal threats here. Tamiyo. Okay, they've minus the Tamiyo, so then both of these are now lethal on their own. The more mana they spend, the more likely our Daze is to work, and they've conceded from the game after casting their Brainstorm. Alright. We managed a 4-1 with the best deck in the format, using the list that just won the Legacy Challenge that was also slightly geared towards beating the mirror by having the main deck Nihil Spellbomb. Lots of 2-0s in there. We did lose 0-2 to the Yori on Breakfast, which is cool. But let's talk about the list. What is there to say about this deck? It still exists. It's still allowed to be played. The Thoughtseize Nihil Spellbomb is an interesting trade-off. I think the Nihil Spellbomb is probably worth it at the end of the day. Like, Thoughtseize becomes a worse draw as it goes on anyway. But it is also one of the better cards to interact with some other combo decks out there. But Nihil Spellbomb is no slouch, and worst case scenario, it cantrips. So I think this build looks really solid. I like the sideboard plan here with the fair stuff. Engineer Explosives is a card that I've lost to many times out of the blue-black Reanimator decks. Energy Flux is an interesting one. I think you're seeing this over the second copy of Explosives that you would sometimes see. I think this is going to be absolutely backbreaking when it does stuff, though. Yeah, not really a great deal to say about the deck. I'm going to try and avoid playing it on the channel because obviously we all know it's a known quantity. But I do play whatever wins the Showcase Challenge because that's like one of the big tentpole sort of online legacy events. So those are the, the higher caliber events. And if I'm doing a midweek meta deck, I should be playing the deck that wins that. So it's going to be a while to the next one, and hopefully I've got my pick of different challenge winning decks that I can play in following weeks. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. Once again, congratulations to Skpchino for winning the Legacy Showcase Challenge, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.